Hi, everyone. Once again, Professor Muldrow. Good to see you. In this video, I will be taking you through Chapter 8, which is about object-oriented programming. Now, before I start this, let me just say Chapter 8 is not going to be part of the final exam. The final exam in this course will only be Chapters 1 through 7. However, Chapter 8 will be used for the extra credit assignment in this course. In addition, when you move on to the next course in our sequence, which is CS22, which covers data structures, object-oriented programming will be covered. So I figured I'd give you a preview of it. What we do in object-oriented programming is we create a class, which we've been doing all the way through the course, but now it's going to be a little different. Here I've created a class called Rectangle. The first thing you might notice about this class is there's no main program. When you are doing object-oriented programming and you define a class, you do not put a main program in it. Classes consist of attributes and actions. Attributes are known as variables. A rectangle has a length and a width. Therefore, those are attributes of a rectangle, and they become variables. However, commonly in object-oriented programming, you will put the keyword private in front of your variable declarations. Private means that those variables cannot be accessed outside of the class definition. More accurately, they cannot be accessed directly outside of the class definition. Now, the next thing I have here is a method known as a constructor. In object-oriented programming, it is common for a class to have a constructor. A constructor is a method that serves two purposes. One, it allocates the proper amount of memory for an object of the class. Two, it gives initial values to the variables in the class. In this case, I'm passing two parameters to this constructor, and those two parameters will be used as values for the two variables. A constructor does not have to have parameters. That's known as a default constructor. You also can have more than one constructor. We've talked about overloading functions in this course. We do that with constructors a lot. We just didn't do it with this one. Also, a constructor does not have a type. Notice I just say public rectangle. You don't even put the word void in front of a constructor. You just say public and the name of the class and parameters if needed. Now, the remainder of these functions are all public, and these functions all return a value. I have a getLength function. Get functions are known as accessors. They're able to access member variables of a class. If you wanted to change the value, that'd probably be a set function. We'd say setLength or setWidth. And those functions are called mutators. Sci-fi. We also have a getPerimeter function that will return the perimeter of a rectangle, and a getArea function that returns its area. So here we have one definition of a class named Rectangle. Now, if you want to actually do something with this class, you need a client class, and I've created that right here. It's called RecClient, and notice here I have a main program. So in this project, I had to make two classes, one called Rectangle and one called RecClient. Now, just so you know, as soon as I type the word rectangle, that's the name of the class in the other file. No, this arrow from RecClient to Rectangle showed up. This arrow showed up automatically. That connects RecClient to the Rectangle class. And what I'm doing in these first two lines, is I'm creating two objects of the Rectangle class. One is named R1, the other is named R2. And the way you create an object is you start with the name of the class, which is rectangle. You give the object a name. Then you have the keyword new. And now to call the constructor, you use the name of the class again. But since our constructor has 2 parameters, I have to put those 2 parameters in the parentheses. So for this particular rectangle, the length will be 5.5, the width will be 6.3. In the second object, R2, the length will be 11.5, the width will be 7.9. And then in these printf statements, I'm going to call both the get parameter. I'm calling all 4 functions. I'm sorry. The get length function, the get width function, the get parameter, and the get area for both classes. Now, since the rect client is what contains main, that's the main thing I need to compile. Although I should also compile the rectangle class. Good, that compiled. Let me compile rect client again. There. Now, since rect client has main, that's the one I'm going to run. So I right-click on rect client and I select main. And here's my output. There's R1's length, width, perimeter, and area. And here's the same for R2. Please look at the PowerPoints in Chapter 8 for more information as to how to create classes in Java. If you have any questions, send me an email at kmuldrow@lbcc.edu.